students, can you see the screen, PowerPoint slide? Yeah, any student can answer?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, thank you. So let me begin the chapter first. Then I have a news article for discussion. So we are into unit 3, okay, which deals with the two out of the four policy choices. One is external competitiveness, determining the pay level, and employee contributions, determining individual pay. So we are still into external competitiveness, determining the pay level. So where we are learning chapter number 8, designing pay levels, mix and pay structures. Okay, it is within this policy, external competitiveness, determining the pay level. And so far, one more, I think somebody is trying to join. Okay. Yes. Okay. So students, I hope you can see the PowerPoint slide again. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Thank,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Okay. So these were the topics within the chapter. So major decisions will specify competitive pay policy, the purpose of a survey. Okay. So these things were started discussing. So just let me take a quick recap of what was learned in the previous class. So we made a beginning to the process of determining externally competitive pay levels and structures. So not exactly steps, but you can consider them for the purpose of learning. Like stage 1, okay, specify the competitive pay policy. Stage 2, select the markets. Stage 3, design a survey. Stage 4, draw policy lines. Stage 5, merge internal and external pressures. Stage 6, design competitive pay levels, mix and structures. Okay. So let us see what we have learned in previous class. Of course, so we made a beginning with stage 1, specify competitive pay policy. Then the purpose of a survey. Okay, I made you understand what is a survey in this context. If we are learning about external competitiveness of the compensation strategy of a company. When is the external competitiveness? Okay, how much compensation is paid by a company compared to its competitors? That is external competitiveness. If the compensation is competitive, the company will be able to retain its best talent as well as it will be able to attract the best talent from the labor market. That is the significance of external competitiveness. It is one among the four policy choices in the pay model. So survey here means the company which is planning to design its external compensation, okay, conducts a survey of its competitors. Okay, for the same positions, same jobs, how much compensation is being paid by the competitors, what are the different forms of pay, and what is the proportion of each form in the total compensation. So for that purpose, the survey will be conducted. Then who will be interviewed? Okay, it will be the relevant market competitors. Okay, so who are competing for the same labor or same type of candidates. So those companies, okay, will be the sample sizes or sampling units. Okay, so the company which is trying to develop an external competitive pay policy will study, okay, its competitors who are also planning to acquire or hire same type of labor with same skills and same qualifications. So that is called the relevant market competitors. then third stage is the design the survey. Okay, so I think this is where we learned till here. Stage 2. So I will continue from stage 3. So design the survey. Okay, the first thing is who should be involved. So in designing the survey, in semester 2, I hope you have studied marketing research or business research methods. Okay, so before the survey is actually conducted, okay, the survey is designed first in terms of the objectives of the survey, scope of the survey, sampling for that matter. Okay, so that is referred to as and the data analysis tools. So this is okay, this constitutes design of the survey. So while designing this survey, okay, what are the steps involved? What is the objective of the survey first? Okay, then who should be interviewed or who should be the sampling units? That is which companies, competitors basically. Okay, so in all in designing this, who should be involved? Of course, HR people. Okay, compensation comes under the purview of human resources management. Definitely, HR people are also involved. Okay, but many a times, cross-functional team also is involved in designing the survey from marketing, finance, or from different hierarchies, from lower level to higher level, because they will have quite a knowledge and experience of their pay levels. Okay, and they can give a better idea to HR people regarding the design of the survey. So along with HR people, employees from different functional areas also are sometimes involved in designing the survey. Okay, I repeat again, survey is conducted of the competitors in order to find out how much compensation they are paying for the same jobs. What are the different forms of pay? What is the proportion of each form in the total pay structure? So these things the company wants to know so that it can come out with a competitive compensation policy. The second part is how many employees. Okay, it is basically about sample size. So I repeat, it is basically about sample size. So how many competitors should be surveyed? Or how many competitors compensation policy should be surveyed? Okay, so regarding that, if the data is available publicly, okay, there are many marketing research organizations or even sometimes the organizations that provide assistance, support and consultancy on compensation. If you can remember ADL, okay, that one online webinar in the first unit, okay, I showed you. Okay, that company is basically a consultancy firm that advises its clients on compensation strategy. So such companies or other market research firms or news agencies, they gather data, okay, and make it available publicly. Maybe sometimes free or maybe most of the times it is paid. So if such data is available, then definitely the number of company does not matter. 1 minute, somebody is trying to join. Okay, so I hope you can see the PowerPoint slides. Okay, so I hope still you can see the PowerPoint slides. If not visible, you have to inform me. Okay, you should not stay quiet. Yeah. So how many employers or what should be the sample size of the survey? Here sampling units are competitors or other companies which are trying to hire same type of candidates. Then word of mouth. Okay, so nothing but on a click of a mouse. Okay, a lot of data is nowadays available online. So the company can consider the data available online as well. So we refer to it as a word of mouth. Just a spread jargon from word of mouth. Then what are the standards? Standards when we say for example a company is trying to find out, so what should be the ideal pay structure for sales representatives of a pharmaceutical company. So they are referred as medical retailers. The job title in for sales representative in pharmaceutical industry is medical retailer. So what should be the level of pay for such sales representative in pharmaceutical company? Then what should be the different forms of pay? What should be the proportion of each form of pay in the total compensation? So to gather information about the compensation for sales representative in the pharmaceutical company, so are there any standards like only there should be minimum 10 companies should be surveyed, minimum 15 companies should be surveyed? So one should understand that there are no standards, there are no benchmarks. Well, it depends. Some companies they consider, like if you consider companies like IBM, Microsoft, they consider very few competitors who are in the Fortune 50 companies or Fortune 100 companies. So because they will be competing, the same level of companies will be competing for the same level of candidates. So some other companies may consider, like in pharmaceutical industry, for more than 10 to 15 competitors. So there are no proper standards or benchmarks. It depends on the organization itself and the publicly available data or data available on internet. Survey design continued. Which jobs to include? So which jobs to include? If you consider a company, there will be a wide variety of jobs. Say for example, if you consider job families, there will be operations who work on the shop floor in production, marketing, finance, human resource, general administration, and many more families of jobs. So considering all the job families and within each family again all the job types, will be a big task, and the quality of the survey might get affected. So companies consider few jobs that are considered as quite standard or benchmarks. Benchmark is nothing but a standard. So if you consider only those jobs in your survey of the competitors, it will be more than enough. You can focus clearly and the quality of the survey will be quite higher. So for which purpose? The benchmark job approach. So we are going to refer exhibit 8.6. If the company is planning to conduct a survey of its competitors to decide the external competitiveness of its pay for managerial hierarchy, for managerial level. So most of the times these are the benchmark jobs which are considered in competing firms like vice president marketing, vice president HR, and so on. Then division general managers, managers, project leaders, supervisors. So these are the benchmark jobs. So the company which is planning to design its compensation strategy, externally competitive compensation strategy, and will consider these kind of jobs or survey how much salary is paid for these kind of jobs in a competitor company. Say if the company is trying to find out or trying to determine a externally competitive pay policy for employees who work in technical side. So in the competitor firms, in the competitor companies, they try to gather information on these jobs regarding how much salary is paid for head or chief scientist, senior associate scientist, scientist or technician. Similarly, if the company is planning to design externally competitive pay policy for employees in the or jobs in the manufacturing section, so these jobs will be studied. How much salary competitors are paying for assembler 1, inspector 1, or packer, material handler, inspector 2, assembler, drill press operator, rough grinder, machinist, core maker, and so on. employees who work in the administrative section. So these are the benchmarks. Okay. So how much the competitors are paying for administrative assistant, principal administrative secretary, word processor or clerk and messenger. So these are benchmarks, nothing else. Because simply you cannot go on gathering information about each and every job in the competitor firm. So depending on the requirement, okay, those benchmark jobs will be studied regarding how much salary the competitors are paying for that particular job. So that is nothing but benchmark approach with respect to which jobs to include in the survey. And there is one more approach, low-high approach. In case of skill or competency-based structures, benchmark jobs may not be available to match with competitors. Say for example, a technology company, okay, like a Tesla for example, okay, or even say for that matter if NASA or ISRO wants to recruit employees. So this benchmark approach will not be feasible because the skill and the competency required for those jobs will be quite different. So market data must be converted to fit the requirement. So if there are already studied made or designs are available to conduct a survey, so that should be modified to suit the requirement. So through that approach, identify the lowest and highest paid jobs for relevant skills and use them as benchmark. But somewhere definitely in some companies, okay, employees will be working with the particular skill set or competence required to perform a particular job. So though it will be difficult but not impossible, the company is required to identify those companies and those jobs and find out the lowest and the highest paid jobs for the same set of skills and competencies and consider them as a benchmark. They can even consider the average of it, or they can consider the highest paid company. Design survey design continue. What information to collect? Okay. So what we are learning now? Who should be involved in the design of the survey? As I mentioned, definitely it is an HR job. Along with HR professionals, employees from other functional department also join the team which is designing the survey of competitors. Okay, the next we learned is which job to include, which job should be studied in the competitor firms. The next question is, this is all about designing the survey. These all parts are related to designing the survey. The next is what information to collect. So it's quite simple. You should have clarity well in advance. So first thing is definitely about organization data. The total information gathered will be broadly classified into two types: organization data and total compensation data. Now please excuse me, somebody is trying to join. I will let the student in. Yeah. Okay, so students, I hope you continue to see the PowerPoint slides. In case if PowerPoint slides are not visible, you have to inform me immediately. Okay? You are not just do not keep quiet. Yeah, we were here. What information to collect? So the information that is going to be gathered through a survey or collected through a survey is broadly classified into two: organization data. Data means information. Okay? Organization data and total compensation data. So the survey in this context wants to gather information or data on these two parts. So let us see what is the data or information gathered during the survey about the competitors, and what kind of compensation information or compensation data of the competitors is gathered. Okay, so I'll read it out if it is not clear on your screen. Related to nature of organization. So what kind of information will be gathered during the survey? Identification of the organization, like name of the company, address, contact person, etc. Then financial information related to financial performance of the company, assets of the company, sales of the company, profits of the company, if possible also cash flows of the company. So what is the rationale why the researcher wants to gather these kind of information from about the competitors? So the survey is actually about compensation. See, because by gathering financial performance, it indicates the nature of the product or service market, ability to pay of the competing organization, size of the competitor organization, and the financial aspect. So that you can compare whether our company is also has enough resources like the competitor. Because if your company, if you compare your company with the competitor who has huge financial resources or who has a very high reputation in the market and who can easily arrange for the funds. And if your organization is not financially as large as your competitor, then it is a wrong comparison. That is the reason why we gather information about financial performance as well, so that we choose those companies that are quite similar to us. The size of the organization, structure of the organization, that is organizational charts, percent of employees at each level. So this kind of organizational information will be gathered in the first part. Then second type of information is about the compensation paid by the competitors. So what type of information is gathered about the competitors' compensation? A cash forms used, that is base pay of the competitor employees, pay increase schedules, long and short term incentives, bonuses, cost of living adjustments, overtime and shift differentials. Then non-cash forms used. This is nothing but forms of pay. Benefits and services, particularly coverage and contributions to medical and health insurance and pensions. Then other than that, incumbent and job, date, survey data in effect, then the job, match generic job description. So what kind of jobs you are going to, the survey is planning to cover, individual like years since degree, education or date of hire by the employer, pay, individual data related to actual rates paid to each individual, total earnings, last increase, bonuses and incentive related to an individual employee. Then information regarding HR outcomes is also gathered related to productivity, total labor costs, ability of the pay structure of the competitor to attract talent from the labor market, and retention rate of the competitor. So what percentage of the employees the competitor is able to retain with such a compensation strategy, and so on. So all this will be included in the questionnaire of the survey, and those competitors who are similar to the organization are studied about the organization and about the compensation system in the organization for the jobs the company is trying to design an externally competitive pay policy. Then, so once the company understands who should be involved in designing the survey, who should be interviewed, what information to be collected, then they weigh the advantages and disadvantages of measures of compensation. So exhibit 8.8 reveals the advantages and disadvantages of measures of compensation. For example, like base pay. Measure means what are you going to measure? What are you going to learn or find about the compensation? The first thing is base pay. Tells how competitors are valuing the work in similar jobs. So for example, the company in question is a pharmaceutical company, and while studying about the base pay of its competitors for sales representatives, it can find out how competitors are valuing the work for the sales representatives in their company. Okay, it fails to include performance. The disadvantages include, if you include the base pay as a component of the information, so this is the advantage. And whatever is the disadvantages, it fails to include performance incentives and other forms. So will not give a true picture if competitors offer low base but high incentives. So if a company, okay, many a times it may happen that due to ease of conducting the survey, the company in question may consider to study only the base pay of its competitors for sales representatives. But that will leave the performance incentives outside. And if there is a competitor who pays, let us say for example 50% base pay and the remaining 50% is performance based, so which is quite high, so that part will not be considered. So the information gathered will not be much relevant. Total cash. If this component of compensation is considered for measurement or survey, which includes the base plus bonus. Okay, so the advantage of including total cash, that is a base plus bonus in the survey, is it tells how competitors are valuing work. Also tells the cash pay for performance opportunity in the job. But the disadvantage is all employees may not receive incentive. So it may overstate the competitors' pay. See, the performance bonus is paid only when the employee achieve their targets. But since all employees may not achieve their targets, okay, so all employees will not receive incentive. So it may overstate the competitors' pay. In the survey, you may assume that okay, incentives are also received by all the employees, and what information you gather will be okay, not much relevant, as it will also include incentive for all employees, whereas all employees do not earn the incentives. And total compensation, base plus bonus plus stock options plus benefits. If the information is gathered about the total compensation from the competitors, the advantage is it tells the total value competitors place on this work. So in my example, I am giving you the example of a pharmaceutical company sales representative job. The disadvantage of gathering information about the total compensation paid by the competitors for a sales representative job is that all employees may not receive all the forms. Okay, all employees may not receive all the forms. Okay, so the author wants the companies don't set base equal to competitors total compensation. The risks are there for of high fixed costs. See, if there is a competitor whose okay, base pay constitutes about, let us say, 60 to 70% of the total compensation. So the company in question simply cannot set such a high okay, proportion of base pay, because the base pay is fixed component in the total compensation, irrespective of the performance of the employee. That base pay has to be paid. So if the proportion of the base pay is going to be very high, then the fixed costs are also going to be very high for the organization in question. Then the cost per unit is also high. The company will not be able to make higher margin profits, or it will not be able to, it will be forced to increase the price in the market. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of measures of compensation. Means what aspects of the compensation are studied in this survey and what are their advantages and disadvantages. So I'll take your questions after a couple of more slides. Then once, okay, so design the survey, then conduct the survey, gather the data. Okay, then in the end the company needs to interpret, gather the data, analyze the data, right? After analyzing the data, okay, something you write as findings. So those are nothing but survey results. So interpret those survey results and construct a market line. Okay, construct a market line, nothing but design your own external competitive pay policy. Next. So verify the data, check accuracy of job matches. So say the company in question in my example is a pharmaceutical company, and it is trying design an externally competitive pay policy for sales representatives. So this company will study other pharmaceutical companies and how much they are paying for the same job. That is the job of a sales representative. So once the data is gathered, you need to verify the data, check for accuracy and job matches, and check for anomalies, any deviation from what information you wanted to gather. Like, does any one company dominate in the industry? Do all employees show similar patterns? Okay. So if there is any deviation, you need to find out. So that is how we verify data. Then update the survey data. Okay. Say for example, if the data is collected from secondary sources, okay, that data needs to be updated. You cannot use a very old data, because as and when the cost of living increases, companies make a cost of living adjustment and they increase the pay of their employees. So that aspect has to be taken into account. So for that purpose, the company in question needs to update the survey data. The aging or trending data. Pay data is updated to forecast the competitive rates for the future date when the pay decisions will be implemented. See, because even in case of primary data collection, let's say the company is conducting a survey of its competitors. In my example, a pharmaceutical company is conducting survey of other pharmaceutical companies in the industry, how much they are paying for the job of a sales representative. Okay. So the company may conduct the survey this year, but by the time the company designs its externally competitive pay policy, okay, and start paying salary to its own sales representatives, okay, it may be more than a year or more than 1.5 years. So at the time of implementation of the pay structure, the company needs to update the survey data. Okay, otherwise the company will make a mistake again. Okay. So yeah, this step, that is stage 4, construct a market pay line or nothing but externally competitive pay policy. We'll discuss in next class. Okay. So first now I will go for your questions if any. If you have any questions, any doubts related to stage 3 which we studied today, which we learned today, I will answer your questions. Okay, after which I will discuss a news article related to this subject. Yes, students. Any questions? Any questions from any students or any doubts? Anything you did not understood? Okay, so there is a pin drop silence. So there I feel there are no doubts or no questions. Students have understood the concept. Okay. The next thing, if you now next part is, would you like to add any information to the class? It may be related to externally competitive pay policy or compensation in general. Okay. Any news you read related to wages or compensation? If anybody would like to make some value additions, so that if you have some news, we can have a small discussion on that. Otherwise it will be a monotonous class, one-way speech. Okay, in the classroom at least to some extent it is possible to make out, okay, whether the students are paying attention or not. But as you know, in online, okay, where your videos are turned off, okay, there is no way to find out whether you are attentive or not. But yes, A discussion can okay, make the classes more interactive and more interesting. But for that discussion, you need to have some information. And to have information, you need to read it. There is no other alternative. Okay. So are you sure you don't have any information to share about the subject? Okay. So I'll present screen again. I have a news article to discuss. Okay, students, can you see this news article?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. This is from Times of India, October 30, from Business Times Call. US, that is United States of America. US proposes to scrap H-1B lottery system. H-1B is the type of work visa. Okay, the other national citizens, okay, who go to America and work. Okay, so it is for them. H1 and plans to replace it with a wage-based selection process. That way, United States of America, that is US, proposes to scrap H1B lottery system. Plans to replace it with wage-based selection process. Okay. So first let me read the news. There are just a few days left for the US elections. Okay, so for the United States of America, elections are due in few days, and the Trump administration has fired another bullet in the H-1B visa program by seeking to replace the annual H-1B cap lottery process, a random selection method which leads to allotment of 85,000 visas with a wage-based selection process. So earlier these H-1B visas were issued based on a allotment system or lottery system, a random allocation, a random selection method. Okay. Now the Trump administration has announced that they are going to replace the random selection method, which leads to allotment of about 85,000 visas per year, the wage-based selection process. Okay, so let us see what is this wage-based selection process. If finalized as proposed, this news, it is just proposed, not implemented. So there is a difference. While you read news, please read carefully. Okay, please read carefully. See how the title will be always misleading. See, US proposes to scrap H-1B lottery system. How the communication distortion takes place? Okay, reader will assume that it is already implemented, and they speak and spread the information as if the US has already scrapped H-1B lottery system and implemented a wage-based selection process. See, it is only proposed. Right now, the lottery-based system is in place. So, if finalized as proposed, this new selection process would incentivize US employers to offer higher wages or petition for positions requiring higher skills and higher skilled workers instead of using the program to fill relatively lower paid vacancies. I repeat, if finalized as proposed, this new selection process would incentivize US employers to offer higher wages or petition for positions requiring higher skills and higher skilled workers instead of using the program to fill relatively lower paid vacancies. The US Citizenship and Immigration Services stated in its release, since the procedural system for implementing a new policy has been followed that includes a 30-day window for public comments, it will be some months before the proposed rule is finalized. The proposed rule stems from the 2017 Buy American, Hire American. Okay. Yeah, like our Make in India. You can see now from where it comes. The proposed rule seems from the 2017 by Higher American Executive Order of President Trump, which called for reforms to ensure that H-1B visas are awarded only to the most skilled or highest paid beneficiaries. The policy intends to hire only the most skilled or highest paid beneficiaries. This looks more like an election stunt than regulations that are properly thought out. Raju S. Khanna, Burlington-based managing attorney at the immigration.com, told Times of India, if elected, the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris government could choose not to proceed on these lines, said immigration experts. Under the proposed rule, now what will happen? Please pay attention. Under the proposed rule, H-1B cap visas would be awarded first to beneficiaries, individuals being sponsored by US companies. Okay. I repeat, under the proposed rule, H-1B cap visa would be awarded first to beneficiaries, that is, individuals being sponsored by US companies. Okay, in the highest of the US 4 wage categories. Then to those at level 3 and so on, until the annual quota has been met. Incidentally, recently, via an interim final rule, wages were significantly hiked across all 4 levels, and the US Department of Labor is facing 3 lawsuits against it. While it was almost impossible to obtain H-1B visas for those at level 1 entry level, the proposed rules will make it challenging to even obtain visas for those at level 2, expert said. See, when the job wages were lower, okay, so most of the foreign citizens, okay, used to go and work there, and the US company used to pay them a lower wages. But now, if this new proposal is going to be implemented, and even where the US Department of Labor, okay, has already raised the wages, it will become extremely difficult for the US employers to get the visas for entry level, that is level 1. Now it will be difficult for them to get the employees from other countries for even level 2, where earlier the wages were low. Then H-1B cap visas have an annual quota of 85,000, which includes 20,000 in the master's category under the current system. Companies apply during the first week of April, and applications are selected randomly. USCIS first runs the H-1B cap lottery to select enough applications to meet the 65,000 H-1B quota. Advanced degree cases not selected in the first lottery are placed in a second lottery to select enough qualifying applications to meet the 20,000 limit. The proposed rule is finalized, it along with the wage hike. If the proposed rule is finalized, it along with the wage hike rule would badly impact the prospects of H-1B Indian aspirants, say experts. It would also dissuade students from opting for the US as a destination, as many go on to procure H-1B visas. Their wages are generally at level 1 and level 2. So this is what you need to understand. The Indian software engineers who go to America are generally paid under level 1 and level 2, that is lower wages. Now if the new policy is going to be implemented as proposed by Donald Trump, okay, it will be very expensive or very difficult for the US employers to hire the skilled workers under level 1, that is a lower wage category, or level 2. The new system would make it challenging for employers to sponsor H-1B visas at these wage levels. Okay, so this is what the news is all about. See how wages or compensation comes into picture in case of H-1B visas in United States of America. Okay, so this figure here or exhibit here tells us the lottery down the years from 2014 to 2021. Demand exceeds annual quota. So if you can see here the fiscal year ending from 2014 to 21, these are the blue color bars are number of H-1B cap applications received. These are number of applications. And you know the quota, it is 85,000 only. So like in 2014 the number of H-1B applications were 1,24,000. 2015 1,72,500. Okay, and for 2021 it's 2,75,000. And you can see here Indians typically constitute a major share of the beneficiaries. For 2021, out of the total 2,75,000 applications received for the fiscal ended September 30, 2021, 1.9 lakh applications were Indians. Okay, so this is how we can broaden our knowledge. Okay, this is how we can broaden our knowledge. Okay, so though it is not directly related to the compensation of an organization, but yes, it is about compliance. If you can recall objectives of the pay policy, there it was one given equal pay for fairness and then comply. Whether the pay policy, okay, it complies with the rules and the regulations and the laws related to wages. So this is external environment. Okay, the US Labor Department has already increased the hike in the wages. First, second, the President Donald Trump administration has proposed a new policy for new method for the 85,000 annual H-1B visas. There is selection process based on level of pay. Okay, so level 1 and level 2 are the low paid, okay, jobs. Okay, generally the American employers used to hire the employees from level 1 and level 2 category from foreign countries. But now under the new proposed policy, if implemented, I repeat, it is not implemented, if implemented it will be very expensive for the American employers, or very difficult for the American employers to hire employees in level 1 and level 2 wage category. Okay, so this is how, dear students, okay, be it any subject, okay, in your MBA, whatever subject you study, 28 or 30 subjects, all these are interrelated. Okay, they interact with each other and create challenges or opportunities for the organizations in the industry. And for multinational organizations, okay, even the environment is far, okay, bigger. So from a subject like compensation strategy, okay, how we link it to the American H-1B visas and what role the US Labor Department is playing and how it is affecting the employers in the US, how it will affect our Indian software engineers who enter America through level 1 and level 2 wage category. Okay, so this is how. So this was about the news, okay, related to compensation. So if you have any questions, please make a note of it. After the attendance, you can ask your questions. So now I am going to take attendance. Yes, Aishwarya.
Present, sir.
Akshay Kulkarni.
Present, sir.
Then Ankita.
Present, sir.
Apeksha.
Sri also present, sir.
Okay, Arpita. Arpita, is she present? Then Ashutosh.
Present, sir.
Ashwini.
Yes, sir.
Geeta. Geeta is absent today, or was she there in the class? Geetanjali. There are 4 students have logged out. Maybe is it due to poor connectivity or I don't know. So you need to inform me regarding those 4 students who have logged out. There were logged out. There were total 25 students. Okay, so Geeta Gitanjali looks absent. Then Meghna Kalburgi. She is
Present, sir.
Yeah, Meghna Lokhande. Okay, so no reply. Then Nagaratna,
Present, sir.
Navya,
Present, sir.
Nidhi,
Yes, sir.
then Nikita,
Present, sir.
Pooja,
Present, sir.
Pranjali. Yeah, she joined the class in between. I admitted her. Then Prema. Yeah,
Present, sir.
Yeah. Priya, absent. Varsha, present. Samuel, Samuel was present. Sharan is present. Sharai is present. Shilpa is present. Shilpa.
Present, sir.
Then Shreya,
Present, sir.
Srinidhi. Yeah. Shweta.
Present, sir.
Yeah, Shweta Kokne is also present. Snehal was present. Then Suchitra. How about Suchitra? Okay, absent. Then
Absent, sir.
absent. Yeah, Maruf is present.
Maruf is present, sir.
Yes.
Sir, present, sir.
Yes, present. Vaishnavi is present. Nishad is present. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
thank you one and all. Please join the next class. You can ask your questions related to article in the next class. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome. Good day to all of you.